Welcome guys on the BetaGroup YouTube channel with Brice Le Blévennec. This time we really have the pleasure to have him. He's a big star here in Belgium. He used to speak at the radio, so since my very early stage I used to hear his voice, and now we have him, for real here with us after like 25 years of businesses in the digital industry.
Yes.
Right. So tell us more how this passion came to you from the very early stage where you was a kid, you were a kid, and then you wake up like, oh my God, I want to be an astronaut, or I don't know, I want to make a better world.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I will make it short. First, I discovered my first computer, my first personal computer, which was a Sinclair ZX81 that I bought in 1981 when I was doing a little trip in London. So I spent all my pocket change buying that computer. I had nothing left to eat. I mean, I could have one Burger King. So I remember very well that association of computing and Burger King, by the way. Came back home to discover that it wouldn't work perfectly with my television, because my television was at the Belgium standard. It was a bit different from the English one. Anyway, I found a converter, and finally I saw the first blinking cursor, and I could start typing my first line of code. So every key had a basic keyword. It wasn't like today where you have to spell every word in the language, in a programming language. And I spent countless hours reading English magazine. This is actually how I learned English. So I speak like I read that magazine when I was a kid. And I spent countless hours typing computer program that would make like a pixel playing Pong on my screen, and it was fascinating. The only problem was that every time my father turned the electricity off because he wanted me to sleep, so he found a trick shutting everything down, Sure. I do the same with my kid now. I shut the Wi-Fi down. Anyway, and then I lost all my programs because you couldn't save anything. Until very late, where I used a tape drive. Then I bought the Sinclair Spectrum, and then I was like in the guild of the Sinclair user against the Commodore 64 user.
Oh, really?
You remember that war? It's like
sure.
the Mac and the PC, but in the early computing age. Also, at my school, I was very lucky because we got access to a system called System Plateau, made by a visionary, a genius, a company named Control Data. If you look at Wikipedia, it's amazing. And those terminals were connected, not through the internet, using modem, very slow modem, but where we were connected with the rest of the world, with American universities, and even the ULB, where we are right now. And we could run software that ran on a server, and it would display on our screen with vectors. So it wasn't pixel, it was already vector shaped, like PostScript or Adobe Illustrator, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So it was really, really amazing because you could do very detailed graphics. Pixel was eating a lot of memory. Vectors was simpler. The screen was tactile. You could touch the screen with your fingers.
When was it?
1979. Can you imagine? Before the first microcomputer. Yeah, and there were square screens, and they used a plastic layer with small grids, and you would touch the screen every centimeter. So you could touch and play video games in network in 1979. And that blew my mind, totally. I mean, I was hacking the system to be able to play all the time game like Dogfight. It was one of the first early flight simulator. We had the flight simulator that would display a frame every 5 seconds. Today it's like more like 60 frames per second. At that time it was boop.
Yeah, patience were
But I completely and immediately understood that would change the world. And I was right. Because for years I was talking about my experience with Plateau. They removed them from my school because I hacked the system, and yes, my fault. I can say it no publicly. But for years I would come back to university where they had some Plateau terminal and try to use them and program them, and enable some games like Moria. And yeah, that was me too.
So that was from your 15 years old,
yeah,
you bought your first computer.
Yeah, and then during holidays, my mother put me in an internship for learning programming, and after the second day, the guy who was teaching over there, he's a friend now, told me, okay, forget it, you're gonna teach my next class. I was really attracted to programming. I could spot his mistakes, and it was very easy to learn.
In the graphical world.
No, that was basic on a Dragon 32, a copycat of TRS-80 from Tandy. I don't know if you remember this Radio Shack for American guys, the Radio Shack TRS-80. Anyway, that's a whole world that has disappeared now because most of us just use computers and don't program them. I mean, I do, and we have a lot of them at Imakina, my company, but most of the users today don't really understand how it works behind. But at that time, you could still try to understand everything about your computer. And that's what I did for several computers.
But also, I mean, by then, having at school like classes on computer, that was also an early stage.
It was really an experiment in 5 schools in Belgium. It was really a visionary platform. Unfortunately...
79, right?
Yeah, even before, I would say... Yeah, maybe 78, 79, I don't remember exactly. It was before 81, for sure.
Okay.
Because in 81 I got my own computer. Yeah, it was really an experiment. They had a system with e-learning, can you imagine? So that was the vision of the founder of Control Data, I forget his name. That guy was really a genius. And he wanted to educate and help education using computing. Today we try to sell iPads, but he started already. So you had a system with student and teacher, and you could design classes and make QCM where students would evaluate themselves and stuff like this. It was really fascinating. But I think not a lot of people understood the potential. The teacher found it boring and complex to set up the questions, but for me it was like a huge playground, and I immediately saw that was what I wanted to be in.
Okay, so it's really inside of you, and that's why you're so successful now, and even a visionary, and we're going to speak about that. But just before, so after school, it's like you turn into graphic design.
Yeah, after my studies, I went working as a computer operator. I used Macintosh. I was using one of the first color Macintosh, Macintosh 2 and Macintosh 2 FX. And I entered a graphic design studio in Brussels, where they had bought their first Mac, and I was like coming in the package to train them.
What time?
That was in, I would say, 89 or 90, 1989. I had myself a Macintosh SE30, which was only black and white, so I was so happy I could play with the color model. I went into the agency and I stayed there for a year, teach everyone, and I left to create my own agency. While I was there, I was also studying typography and design at Lacan, which is a graphic art school in Brussels, because I always had those two interests, technology and creativity, design. When I had my first computer, the first thing I made on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum was types. I designed fonts and typo on the big screen with pixels, and so I was always attracted to using the technology to create and make design.
Okay.
It was my first love. So I'm a bit like, I have the same DNA as Steve Jobs. I really believe we can achieve things with creativity and technology. And this is still the DNA of my company, Imakina 25 later. So we still blend those two part of the brain, those two faces of intelligence.
And so that was before internet, right?
Yeah, it was way before internet. I actually founded Ex Machina before the internet existed. I mean, the internet existed, but not the web.
You know, and that's funny because I think that now the generation Y, Z, whatsoever, it's like, you know, what was before internet? And I think, you know, the CD-ROM and things like that.
Yeah.
we don't speak about that anymore.
Before the internet, we had the CD-ROMs. And before the CD-ROM, we had the touch screen, the interactive kiosk. And before the interactive kiosk, we had like floppy disk. So I remember I made like multimedia presentation fitting on the floppy disk with software that, you know, nobody forgot, but could make like slideshow with pictures. And I remember for European Commission to make a big campaign with a floppy disk that would explain, I don't know, sexism, gender inequality. Yeah, it was something.
And then you saw internet coming.
Yeah, I went to ski with a friend that was a student in physics at the ULB, and I was skiing with him, and during the evening he would talk he would tell me everything about that great stuff he used at a school called the internet. And the web did not exist. It was before the web. So he was talking about other stuff like Gopher, with which you could search in databases, and the email existed already, and Finger, he was a director of people, all those protocols that are still there, and IRC to chat. This all existed before the web. The web was born in 94, but I'm talking before. So I was like, with that friend, 91, 92, had my company, and we did connect through the internet using CompuServe, Apple Link. Apple launched a service called eWorld. It was like a CD, and you could connect to your computer with your computer using a modem and do stuff. And Microsoft launched the Microsoft Network. It wasn't web-based at all. They had like a CompuServe. You remember CompuServe? And American Online. All those services you would connect using your mobile or your modem to a proprietary walled garden world. Okay. I remember the web appeared in 94. It was like poof, an explosion. The first thing we did was looking at the source code of pages and trying to emulate. I remember, and trying to understand the code, because you didn't have manual on how to build CSS and stuff like this. You had to write everything from scratch. Yeah. So this is the first thing that was fascinating, was to look at the code. Because the content was, to be honest, really boring. It was just information pages. Yeah. But quickly we found how to make tables and how to put graphics, GIF at the time, with 260 colors only. And GIF at the time to make like some design, because my first thing was, how can I hack the thing to make design? And we did one of the early websites for a cartoon published by Dupuis about Sarajevo. Yeah, about the war in Sarajevo. So it was online, you could read it online.
That's serious.
And then we did a website for Sony Music, and we had the cover of the record of the artist, and you could listen to little MP3 file at a time. Yeah, because the web browser could serve that. That was, I would say 95, 96, something like that.
Wow.
So that was really, really interesting. But for me, it was easy, because for many, many years, from 91 to 95, I designed interactive kiosk and CD-ROMs. And the process to design information in a screen and with interfaces and button and rollover and things that change a part of the screen and links to connection between piece of content, and it was the same. And we invented a way of doing it, using Illustrator, using Photoshop, the early version of Photoshop, using a software that doesn't exist anymore, made by Apple, called Apple Multimedia Tool. It was created, by the way, by a Belgian company, and it was bought by Apple, and it was like Macromedia Director that still exists today. I think it still does exist. It's Adobe, that's publisher now. So we knew how to design for interactivity. Mm-hmm. For 5 years. It's an eternity, so we were really good at that. We could design on screen and put the type and make it legible. We even did a CD-ROM about Magritte, a Belgian painter, we the early version of QuickTime to do digital video in there. So I think we used the first beta of QuickTime. We had close relationship with Apple. I was an Apple evangelist because of my show, so I had contact with them, and they give me early access to software. So we made all those things. So when the web arrived, we were very early understanding the potential and what we could do with the web.
Mm-hmm. So we can still see your show on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I mean, my show was from 96 to 2006, so that was mostly before YouTube was born.
Like vintage.
So there's only a few crappy, low resolution, posted by people that were invited, and a few stuff that I transferred from the now dead Google Video. Nobody forgot, but Google had their own video broadcasting platform.
And now let's talk about digital marketing, because Imakina, your company, is keen and is number one in Belgium, actually, about that subject, and maybe in Europe, because you have offices.
We're the number one independent digital agency. So WPP, Publicis, they're bigger than us. Yes. But in the independent, I think we're waiting for the new ranking by RECMA. I think we're number one with 700 people in Europe. Okay. So you were in Switzerland also, so of course Belgium, Switzerland, Germany? No, not Germany. We're in Austria, Sweden, Belgium, France, Netherlands, Switzerland, Turkey and Croatia. 8 countries.
Okay.
I may have forgot one. No.
Yeah, that's interesting choices of places.
Yeah, it's a long story, but basically when we acquire an agency in the Netherlands, they already had set up an office for doing some offshoring in Izmir, Turkey, and same with the Austrian that were outsourcing something in Croatia. Okay. We kept those, and so today we are in eight countries.
Okay, so now what's the turn of your company? Where are you guys going to in terms of marketing, digital marketing?
Mm-hmm. So digital is a wide field. There's so many disciplines in there. So we used to be a web agency in the early 90s. We used to be an e-business shop in the beginning of the 2000s. Then we became a brand experience company. Then a digital marketing agency. So right now, it keeps, there's new buzzword and new competencies. Basically today, what we exceed at and what we want to be recognized, famous for is user experience. What we focus on is user experience. User experience across all touch points, omni-channel user experience, omni-channel, even in the real life. So what we try to do is make the daily life of consumer, employee, citizens better. And how we do that? We sell our services to institutions, companies, to fix their user experience, make it better, and enhance it. Okay, so this is what we do.
How you do that? Because it looks like people on the street asking questions, or cameras, like hidden cameras, and you look how people are reacting.
Yeah, we do some field studies and shadow shopping and things like that. And interview in real life of consumers and to gather insight. We actually have our own internal research department. It's actually a standalone company named Imakina Insight that does qualitative research. So with panel and focus group of people, we try to get the real motivation behind the action and try to turn them into insight that we use for building our user experience. That's part of our job, really. We do that. We of course do a lot of digital experience because today this is where there's the biggest complexity and chaos. But we integrate it into the overall consumer journey, of course. So we have people that focus on psychology, ergonomy, usability, design, interface design, service design, innovation, business process, business modeling, and then we implement them. That's one key. Also, we also deliver. So we can design an experience and build it and run it for years.
So what kind of issues do you want to come with a solution on? I mean, what's the main problem now that you want to solve?
Okay, so we are an agency and we work for the big companies, the brick and mortars. This is our field. And today, every sector of our economy, every industry is being disrupted by new entrants, the startups and new players that arrive, changing regulation. There is changing regulation in telecom, coming now in the energy, coming now in banking and finance. There's many new regulation that open the markets, and these are all opportunities to create new services. So what we do is helping those companies, the brick and mortars, fight the startups and the new entrant by being agile and being innovative and create new services and improve their user experience to kill them. So let me give you an example. You have Uber that enter a city and start disrupting the personal transport. And then we will help the existing taxi company launch or create a new app that will, in terms of user experience, be better than the one from Uber.
Really?
So you'll be able to see your taxi on the map, order it, book it, and pay it online, and do. So this is the challenge. So, for example, there is a product in Paris made by a company called Taxi G7 that is licensed in Belgium by Taxi Vert, and so they can use it and for a cheap price. I mean, than starting an implementation like the Uber platform, that would be a bit more costly, and then they need to launch that and do a campaign. So these are all new opportunities that are created in a world that is changing because of the digital transformation of the world.
Yeah. But it's still like a kind of a copycat of
In
Uber.
that case it is, but in many other areas we just create new services, invent new services.
And so, jumping into the future, how do you see the app world evolving?
Oh, that's a good question. it's becoming really, really more and more complex. First, there's more and more apps. So creating an app is useless. You know, you need to create an app and promote it, and make it part of an ecosystem that will make it strong. Today, adding a new app on the App Store, it's basically useless. If you have a company, let's say you are Partena, a mutual, Partena Mut, an insurance company, okay, or social security, and then you create an app to create new services, more convenient services, and you communicate to your customers. Okay, that makes sense, all right? You have your own target, and you improve the user experience, it makes sense. Launching a new app in the B2C world today is really changing. You need to be very smart, have a great idea, and all ideas are there, so it's not easy. And you also need a lot of means to promote it today. It's very difficult to get to the high listing of the App Store. There's still games that manage to do that, but if you look carefully at the new listings, you'll see that the games that are trusting the top spots are carefully crafted and engineered by people that are experts at gamification and game design, and that made previous success and are building on those success. So being a new entrant for an indie studio is really, really like playing the lottery. Okay? You have a chance, but it's really like playing the lottery. It's
challenging, yeah.
And also, what's changing now is Apple and Google, because they're fighting together, are more and more taking control of the overall user experience. So more and more, let's talk about iOS, all right? Apple announced that you will have a possibility for the apps on your iPhone to display content into the maps, into the Apple Map software. You'll be able to expose, let's say, your restaurant, your hotel, and be able to book and order a cab straight within Maps. But the experience design will be basically owned by Apple. You are within Maps. Same with iMessage, with the Message app. The Message app allows you to send SMS, to send iMessage, and iMessage now become more and more interactive, and they build an app store just for message, in which you will be able to put your stickers or some of your functions. Let's say you translate words, or you can interact with a call center using your app within iMessage. Okay, but who's making the overall experience? Apple, right? And same with Siri. Siri now will be able to answer requests and intention of the user that are managed by the app on the phone. So on the phone, your app will understand and receive question when when Siri understands that the intention is and the object is an app. But who's gonna design the experience? Apple. So basically, more and more, app design will be providing services and data through message to Plan, to Siri, and also to the screen when the user downloads the app.
Yeah, but so that does mean that
I forgot about the widget. Also in the widgets. But Apple is making the design of everything.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Then the independent companies, the small players, they will have no way to get inside the big Apple system. I mean,
I disagree. I disagree because it's a democracy.
And with the Siri, you know, that they will make, okay, if you ask a question, what's the best restaurant here around, and you know, they make it pay, you know, like advertising for.
Actually, it's advertising. It's Google. We can talk about Google in a minute, but basically, the small players, let's say La Fourchette. You know La Fourchette? It's a French player in the restaurant. La Fourchette can be better at the design and the engineering, and they can expose the data to widgets, notification, an Apple Watch application, and expose their restaurant into Siri, expose their restaurant into Maps, and into...
okay, so they will still open up all the systems.
Yeah, that's the contrary with Google. Google announced Google Assistant, and they have a partnership with, I don't remember, the Yep, and Open Table, and all the small players are dead. Apple says, we're going to open our API, and any app will be able to talk to Siri, expose their data and actions to Siri, and widget, and notification, and Apple Watch, and Maps, and Message, and then it gives lots of opportunities for the owner of data to create apps that take, but their differentiation, their their unique difference will be the data, the price, and the convenience, and not anymore the app design. The app design is becoming more and more irrelevant because users will be accessing the service of the app by many other touch points that Apple is controlling.
Let's talk about social media now. So how do you see the future? Let's take Facebook.
Oh my God, I think Facebook will become part of the fabric of the world. It will be really a part of our daily life, and we'll never get rid of Facebook. Unfortunately, I say that for the people that don't like Facebook. And Facebook more and more will be, it's almost embedded in every app. Every other social network allows you to find your contact using Facebook. So basically, it'll be the primary network of everyone.
Wow.
And then on top of Facebook, you'll have like niche network can grow and, and try to launch. And if you look at every messaging app, most of them, they scan your address book and they scan Facebook to find contacts that are on the system. So right now, my problem with Facebook is, of course, they'll be your primary network. Of course, they'll be, embedded in everyone else's apps, every website, because they will manage your relationship. There's no sense of adding friends to other networks and doing 3 times. It's really boring. What we want is we add it in Facebook and it's everywhere. All right? That's what we want. But I think they have a challenge in making their own website, their own app, staying relevant. What I see is more and more, there is that, let me explain. There is that balance between information from your friends and information from the advertiser and news, all right? Mm-hmm. You got those 3 sources of data that comes into your wall, your news page. And more, I see that they are searching for the right balance, okay? And if they push more brand content, everyone hates it. So right now, they will hide it more and more. So the natural appearance of brand content is getting lower and lower, and you have to buy advertising and promote your post, all right?
Yes.
So what will brand do? They will do that. They will put more and more advertising because, so it becomes a bit cluttered for the user. So what do? We use ad blocking software, all right? So I think there they will have, and then what do Facebook do and brands? Okay, they'll put advertising in the native content because they don't want you to block the ads. And then we'll be angry about them. And then they will lower the ranking. And we're in a loop where I don't see the issue. At a certain point, they need to find a model where they're making money on other services than only advertising. Okay. Advertising, at a certain point, you don't want advertising in your friend personal feed, right? You don't want that. Yeah. So yeah, you can tolerate
for a few. It's too intrusive.
It's not intrusive. It's just annoying, and if you can escape it, you'll find it.
Or maybe you will have to choose, to be able to keep up with Facebook. Don't you think so? A premium Facebook, and then if you don't pay for a premium, if one day it's
right now they still want to be free. They're even willing to pay internet to some people to get more users. Okay, they don't have enough. We want the 2 billion. They want the whole world on Facebook. So they're not in that thinking now of, and they're making a lot of money now with brands and advertisers. So it's not that urgent. But I'm thinking on long term on the user experience. At a certain point, you won't want that to mix. So you will keep Facebook as the place where you will add friends, but you will see your friends and chat with your friends and have content with your friends outside of net of Facebook. And Facebook understood that. That's why they bought WhatsApp. That's why they're boosting Messenger. And in Messenger today, you don't have ads. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they will put ads very early in Messenger. Okay, what they want is become your primary interface for the internet, and you to spend a maximum of time with them. So that's because they got Instagram, they got WhatsApp, they got Messenger, and they got Facebook. And no users are moving to Snapchat. The new generation is moving more and more to Snapchat. So I don't have a clear vision on Facebook future because, it's based on people behavior and new generation that have new and invent new behavior. So it's very difficult to anticipate those things. Mm-hmm. But I think they will have to find and fix their own experience. Okay, they won the war, they are the main social network. And in messaging, they're number 1 by far, WhatsApp plus Messenger. But still, maybe not on iOS, because everyone uses SMS and message and iMessage also. But the primary experience, I see it becoming less and less relevant. And I see more and more youngsters that will, there are people too, they're not over there, but they will move to Snapchat when they want to talk to their tribe, without the parents being able to see what they publish.
Mm-hmm. And so, as an advertiser, how should I communicate on Facebook? Do you have any tips like?
Oh my God, yes, there's tons, you can write a book about that, but the first thing is being honest and authentic. Because, you know, you're in a social network environment, so advertising, don't do advertising, communicate with them, you know, build a relationship, don't sell them anything.
Share things.
Yeah, share things, make them come in contact with your brand. So you need to be authentic and honest and create value in their life. So the content of what you're sharing need to teach them something or make them feeling something, and you know, so it needs to create value and be meaningful and authentic. Okay. That would be the general advice.
So, and what about Twitter?
Twitter?
Yeah.
All right, Twitter, I mean, that's an opinion, I may be wrong, but I don't think Twitter future is very bright. Mm-hmm. They're struggling to grow. And honestly, I see a lot of people that becomes not tired of Twitter, but are posting less and less, and just use it like a news feed. It's the new RSS feed, so they follow magazines and then they got that aggregated feed that they read, and sometimes they retweet a little bit, but that's I don't see them creating a lot of content. I see a lot of media creating content, and some little stars that, you know, you publish on your video on YouTube, you will advertise on Twitter, Facebook, and so I'm very, and also they killed the whole ecosystem because they wanted to control their primary interfaces to be able to put advertising in there. So I think they're really stuck now. I don't know where they're gonna head from now. I mean, the user experience is not very interesting. The new, the new big advance is we avoid counting URL into the 140 signs. Oh my God, that's great. No.
Yeah. So so again, I'm an advertiser, and you are such a good web agency. So what would you advise me in terms of social media? Where should I go?
You need to go everywhere. But you need to.
What's everywhere? So Facebook.
Yeah. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, but if it's relevant and for the right target. So to hire your employees, go on LinkedIn, all right? Yeah. Unless you're in the B2B business, then you can find niche on the Xing, Vidéo, and LinkedIn, all right? If you're targeting consumers, of course, you need to be on Facebook, but you also need to have a strategy with visual communication on Pinterest, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Vimeo, on Dailymotion.
So you will communicate differently.
Of course. Each social media, each social network has its own strengths and weakness and his own niche. You know, Twitter is great to talk to journalists and PR and evangelists and opinion leaders. But to the general public, you know, it's not really efficient. So you probably will use Twitter to launch a new product, a new category, or but you want to advertise to the masses, then you use Facebook. And if you're in fashion and design, you will use certainly Instagram and Pinterest. And Pinterest is very low, but if you're in e-commerce, and each of them has a use. It's an ecosystem by itself. So there's no strategy, or you should do 10% that and 20%. Makes no sense. It depends on what you're selling to who.
So you also are in the middle of all the startups, because you have to see all what's happening also for your clients. And you also you are an investors in some of them, and some you did a great success. Some others failed.
Yeah, I was a co-founder in a few startups, and I was also an investor in some.
So, what would be your advices to the startups? How should they? Any tips you can give with your experiences as an investor? What do you look at first in a startup to invest in?
Well, I look personally. I cannot give general advice because it would take a whole hour. Okay, we only have a few minutes. But first, for me, the most important thing is the team. Because if you got a smart team that has a bad idea, they can pivot. If you got a bad team that has a smart idea, you're stuck, you know, you will fail. So the most important thing is the team. Is it complete? Is it balanced? Does it cover technical, business, creativity, user experience? This is the most important thing. A company is a group of people. Before it's a product and a service. It's before that, it's a team, it's people, all right? And people will change over time. You will lose some and earn some. But if you want to succeed, the first kern of people is very, very important, all right? So then you need to have a strong belief in your idea. You don't need to have a new idea, because there is no new idea. Honestly, there's so many people looking for ideas that everything is everywhere, right? Some ideas haven't been discovered, but it's there, you know? So have an idea and have a real belief in your idea, because you will have to convince a lot of people. You, your partners, your staff, investors, and clients. So you really need to believe in your idea. Whatever is the idea, you need to believe it deeply, because I see a lot of people that come with the startup and they ask me advice because they have doubts. You know, they're not sure, and shall we go there, that way, and this way? Jesus Christ! You, the founder, you will spend your life and day and night. You need to believe in your idea. You know, you can have questions, but the main idea, you need to believe in it, right? So this is the second advice. And the third advice would be, and this is really my religion, is don't believe the advice of everyone else, all right? Because honestly, if you think too much and see all the risks, you won't do anything. You know, if you look at the risk, it's so risky. You got little chance to succeed, honestly. Little chance to succeed, and it's gonna be tough. You're gonna lose your friend, your family, your girlfriend, your health, and maybe earn some money, but it's not sure, all right? So if you look at the risk and listen to everyone's advice, you won't do anything.
You just have to jump into it.
Yeah, find smart people that you believe in and that will help you moving further, but don't listen to everyone's advice and, you know, that's, I really was a bit stubborn when I did my business. And I think I was right. Still think I was right. Okay.
So it's not that you have to be like to be successful, starting with the H, but it's...
I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I mean, you need to discuss it with your partners. Okay, within the team you can question each other.
So what's the dream core team we should have to start a business with?
Okay, it depends on the business. If it's in B2C, B2B, but basically you need at minimum a guy who's the owner of the user experience. Okay, of the design of the brand, the user experience. This is one guy. All right. It can be two guys, but okay, at minimum one guy. Then you got the technology. We're talking about startups. Technology is easy. Making a proof of concept is easy. An MVP is easy. Scaling and building great foundation, strong foundation that will last the growth, and that's another story. So you need really to have a good person that understands tech or can have access to people that understand tech and will own the technical part. And then you got the businessman, the salesman, the guy who will sell the dream, but also has understanding on the whole finance adventures, because it's basically key. Finding the gas to put in your engine is necessary, and using it wisely and watching it. And so I would call that third person the owner of the business model and the finance. This is the key minimum you need to have.
Okay.
At the minimum.
3 core guys.
Yeah, that's the minimum of minimum. I really think that you need today. It's becoming more and more complex and more challenging. So you can have sometimes a guy who's the owner of the brand and doing the social media and the storytelling and the PR and the design, and another one that does only the user experience, which is becoming more and more complex. And you work hand in hand with the tech and the implementation guy. And same for the CTO. Technology today, you got front end, you got back end, you got database. It depends on your market. I mean, if you're selling, you're doing a messaging platform, scaling is the issue, you know?
So, but you will still invest in startups?
Me? Yeah. Not right now. Because I think now we're in a kind of bubble with real valuation that are really not... Okay, so I think it's not the right moment, but maybe in a few years,
Yes, or maybe the early stage startups. So the valuation you can make it with.
Maybe early stage.
Okay.
Well, I only invest. So I only invest if I can bring something more than money to the project, with my ideas, with my knowledge of marketing, with my network, or on technology side. Because if just the money, I mean, there's so many people that do a better job than me.
Okay, but I'm glad that you were speaking about early stage startups, because the BetaGroup is just about that. So if you see more startups, it's also available on our YouTube channel with all the startups we have, and they are pitching at our monthly session. But now, so the time is over. Thank you so much, Brice, for joining us, and it was really interesting. So thank you a million times, and we see you guys later. Thank you. Thank you, Brice.